Balk. That is all. No, literally. That's it. That's all Gor-Rok can do is just balk. You right in the face, but his skill and ability loadouts. Shield of Aeons, abilities here, Mace of Olmec, and the Stand Your Ground, and of course, him himself having the physical resistance and vigor refresh. Essentially, Gor-Rok fulfills the role of an infantry tank lord, and today Profit is going to take him along with this block of Saurus, a mid-tier infantry, who I have trashed quite a bit over time. Let's see how they can do. I also love this. The Quaddle here, do these use... do they actually technically benefit from the Quaddle stock? I think the units do have to be, yeah, on the ground, so... the units technically are not benefiting from the stock, but the Quaddle kind of supporting these Rippers. Of course, the anti-infantry Ripper is going to be very good against the opponent Dwarves. That's right. Thorek, Ironbrow, and Felix, and a regular Dragon Slayer, kind of well-marked Gotrek, surging up the hill here. This is the... what is it? Not Peak Pass. Alpine Ridge, yes. A little classic multiplayer map with the eponymous Alpine Ridge here right in the center. And, yeah, we've got some Fire Leech Bolas over there on the side as well. And, yeah, essentially the ridge kind of forces both players to rush the hill. So that's exactly what we get as the Dwarves and the Lizardmen both rise to the occasion, pun intended. You can see the Slayer doing some scouting there, runs back towards his lines and prepares to clash with the Lizardmen. They come forward here. And we're going to see the block of Saurus just kind of come and engage right here in the center. Not really too much about it. But the flanking force here, obviously the Rippers and the Quaddle going to come in and try and disrupt some of these Quarrelers. We've got, yeah, plenty of Quarrelers. Miners throwing their charges now into the Saurus as they advance. And Gor-Rok, once again, balk. That is the message of the day. And... he's going to come in here and start to do his attack animations. Great AP damage. I say great AP. 450 isn't the best by any means, but massive melee defense, especially with Stand Your Ground active. But even without it, he's got huge amounts of melee defense. A little chain lightning there from the Skink Priest of Heavens. Definitely going to do some friendly fire, but did do some damage to the Dwarfs as well, no doubt. Here come the Rippers. Getting ready to land on some engagements. We get a direct hammer and anvil into that melee, try and maybe salvage that engagement there. You can see the Slayers kind of mirroring a little bit, trying to guess where the Rippers will go. Unfortunately, the Rippers can kind of feint and turn around, go where the Slayers are not. Slayers, of course, forced to respond. This unit over here does manage to catch the Rippers over on the far side, but these ones are able to rip through this Quarreler pretty quickly. Before the Slayers can respond. Meanwhile, front line, I see a little harmonic convergence there on the Saurus, maybe? Yeah, just helping to keep them in the fight. 50-58 on attack and defense, and 52 weapon strength. Harmonic convergence, honestly pretty underrated spell. Nice little single target debuff. Or buff, rather. Not debuff, quite the opposite. But Gor-Rok is going to go for what I would consider to be an incredibly risky engagement, essentially taking a 3v1. I mean, to be fair, it's not fully a 3v1. He does have the Saurus kind of supporting, which is going to distract in terms of its attack animations, but key into, you know, his banner here as he kind of moves around this engagement. Watch as he kind of circles here. Yeah, if we can get a nice view of it. His attack animations are actually going to lead him to not actually getting 3v1 very much. The Dwarfs right now, see like right there, he's actually fighting all three single entities at the same time, but his animations kind of carry him away. In many ways, you know, we see attack animations, again, distracting, going into the Saurus. So he is definitely taking some damage, and right now it's definitely not going in his favor. But we'll see. That high melee defense, 60 melee defense still. And yeah, now he starts to, yeah, kind of dash to the other side, leaves the Slayer kind of in no man's land, fighting some Saurus. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the rest of the battlefield as he fights a single entity fight. The Rippers continuing to kind of cycle charge, just again, avoid the Slayers as much as possible. Not always possible, definitely getting tangled up in some instances and taking some damage in the process. But yeah, Quaddle also doing a nice job kind of cycle charging here, but importantly for Gor-Rok is that he's able to focus his attacks primarily on taking out Felix here, which is absolutely the priority. as, of course, Felix is healing all the other single entities, so you have to get rid of him first. That passive healing. I can get Felix's card to stay on. There we go. Yeah, that Blood Oath, of course, is going to heal enemy heroes, but Gor-Rok manages to get pretty good pathing. Just kind of his speed, his, like, you know, jumping around, attack animations means that, yeah, he's able to kind of solo out and smash Felix and get him out of the fight, which is huge. Now he is faced with just a 1v2, and again, you guys hear me talk about on the channel all the time how numbers is really the game in single entity fights, but not today. With a Mace of Olmec active and, you know, Harmonic Convergence, or Shield of Eons, rather. Yeah, Mace of Olmec gives him plus 40 melee attack, up to 90 melee attack, 600 plus weapon strength, almost 700. Oh, there's the Harmonic Convergence. Yeah, briefly at like 116 melee attack, but that Dazed Contact effect as well, further reducing the melee defense of Thorek. And does he also get debuffed? Yeah, Curse the Midnight Wind, so really the debuffs and buffs from Lord of Heavens putting in some major work and allowing Gor-Rok to win, again, what I would consider to be like an absolutely terrible engagement. Like, this is not an engagement I would advise any of you ever take. You know, 1v3 single entity fight, essentially. I mean, granted, with infantry and magic support, but still. Gor-Rok, you know, through his own traits and through the magic support, and honestly, some pretty lucky dice rolls, if we're being fair, manages to not only survive, but essentially win a 1v3, which is insane. I mean, can't stress enough how unusual that is, but impressive nonetheless. Yeah, we can see here that Thorek trying his best, going to activate his Rune of Doom. Does have Gor-Rok pretty low, but just those, you know, successive defensive buffs, the physical resistance, which doesn't actually apply to Thorek himself, but will help against, you know, whatever other incidental damage is coming in. The Saurus supporting him have mostly been just absolutely trash, but we do have the one unit here that's still relatively healthy, that's kind of forming a little defensive formation. I don't know, there's still a lot of Slayers here, but there's still the Fire Leech Bolas as well, a few volleys left on them. Got the Quaddle, still at about 50% HP, and Sub-Rippers reasonably healthy. There's certainly enough HP between the three, you know, units remaining that they can almost make a full unit. But, yeah, a little Lord of Heavens. Did he actually take... Oh, no, that was something else. That was from the Quaddle, yes. Bound Uranin's Thunderbolt. Lesser Chain Lightning. Okay, so that value actually would have gone on the Quaddle, which honestly wasn't too impressive, but... Hey, you know, he's here for disruption. He's here to have a good time. Now he's here to really just sell this late game engagement against Thorek. As finally, Gor-Rok gets some support in the big single entity fight. And the Air Force of the Lizardmen lands in a very bloody finale here. Wow, quite the combat on the hill. I was a kid playing Total War back in the day, playing even like Shogun 1. One of my favorite things was just like admire the carnage after the battle, or in the late stages of the battle. Absolutely impressive. Super, super fun. Yeah. Fire Bleach Bola is still throwing in a few volleys. The Dwarfs not going quietly into that good night. Felix actually did come back, as Lizardmen didn't really have much to chase him off, but it's not really going to do much as he comes back. The other thing about Gor-Rok is as well, with that Vigor refresh, he doesn't quite have perfect Vigor, but you see how he's only tired when everything else on the field basically is exhausted. Yeah, that also makes a difference, certainly in these late game engagements. But yeah, truly Gor-Rok just Chad. Gor-Rok with, as he's hidden behind the wings of the Pterodons here. Yes, that's right, Gor-Rok. Today is your day. Well done, sir. Well done. Well done to Profit. Well done his opponent, honestly. Tretch here from the ODM clan. It's a fun game. Definitely a very fun game, for sure. Wild time had by all. Overall, yeah, Fire Leech Bolas just racking up kills on Slayers and value. That definitely helped achieve victory there. Kind of unsung heroes by me throughout the battle, but definitely recognize them here at the end. Saurus also, decent trade. Mid-tier infantry tends to struggle often nowadays, so it's nice to see them do well against Dwarfs. Against anyone, honestly, but Dwarfs not having monsters does mean they don't have one of the counters for mid-tier infantry, which often leads them to getting wrecked. Monsters are definitely one of those things. Artillery and guns, just high damage range units in general are also another one, which dwarves definitely have, but chose not to bring here. Given the constraints of the map, that definitely makes sense. But, working within those constraints of the map, the factions, everything else, Saurus here get a time to shine, which is great. Gor-Rok himself, yeah, 13,000 damage dealt, almost 2,400, basically and a half. Yeah, gold value, fantastic. 1v3 versus the Dragon Slayer, Felix, and Thorek Ironbrow. Very, very impressive stuff, it must be said. Skink Priest here as well gets great support value. It doesn't come through on his own card, of course, but largely applies to most other units in the army. So definitely very, very great. Especially the Curse of the Midnight Wind with the Fire Leech Bowls actually will allow them to get some damage on these armored units, but mainly just focusing the Slayers, definitely a good call. Their light armor means they'll take maximum damage from those explosives, and especially once they're clumped up, fighting something, a lot of the unit models will actually get hit by it, so makes sense on that front. Overall, Dwarfs, made a valiant attempt to stand, but little did they know Gor-Rok came to play today. Fun stuff for sure. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.